rotors spin, the jungle trembles. Then, a metallic scream drowns everything. 6 barrels spin, and the world answers in shredded leaves and falling shadows. This is the M134 Minigun, born in the acid heat of Vietnam, honed by decades of conflict, and still the first choice when everything else fails. Watch closely as I trace its evolution and reveal why it continues to dominate the battlefield. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe for more deep technical breakdowns. The 1960s changed how America fought wars. Vietnam wasn't about front lines, it was about ambushes, jungle traps, and enemies that vanished the moment you blinked. Helicopters became lifelines, but when those birds dropped supplies or evacuated the wounded, they were sitting ducks. Door gunners with M60s couldn't keep up. Their barrels overheated. Their fire didn't last. That's when General Electric stepped in. The company had already built the M61 Vulcan, a 6-barrel 20mm cannon for fighter jets. It used an electric motor to drive its barrels, a key to extreme reliability and speed. GE's engineers wondered, what if we scaled it down? Instead of 20mm shells, what if it fired the standard 7.6 2 by 51mm NATO rifle round? By combining the electric drive of the Vulcan with the smaller cartridge, GE created something revolutionary, a handheld-sized version of a jet cannon. The prototype was completed by 1963. The designation was dry, M134. The nickname came naturally, Minigun. Mini only because of its smaller caliber, everything else about it was massive. When the first miniguns reached Vietnam around 1965, they rewrote the rulebook. Mounted on UH-1 Hueys, AC-47 Spooky gunships, and even small observation aircraft, they brought devastating suppression fire to the battlefield. The sound was distinct, a rising whine that built into a mechanical scream. To U.S. troops, it was safety, however. To the Viet Cong, it was panic. Each burst could clear a tree line in seconds. A single minigun delivered more fire than an entire platoon of M60s. Its tracers painted arcs of light through the night, earning nicknames like Death's Lawnmower and Buzzsaw of the Sky. The AC-47 carried 3 miniguns, each spitting up to 6,000 rounds a minute. Crews described the resulting arcs as walls of fire. It turned aircraft into airborne artillery, the first true gunships. That success sparked a doctrine shift. Gunships became permanent fixtures in U.S. strategy. The minigun wasn't just another machine gun, but it was the sound of dominance. From a distance, the minigun looks chaotic. Barrels spinning, brass flying, belts feeding, but inside, it's pure order. Each barrel has its own bolt and firing chamber. The 6 barrels rotate around a fixed central axis, powered by an electric motor. As the cluster spins, a cam path inside the housing controls each bolt's motion. Load, fire, extract, and eject, all in a continuous rhythm. This system creates balance. 1 barrel fires while 5 cool down. By the time a barrel fires again, it's had a chance to shed heat. That's why the minigun can fire thousands of rounds continuously without melting its barrels, something no single barrel weapon can do. The recoil, too, spreads evenly across the rotation. Instead of a sharp kick, it's a steady push, which is controllable, predictable, rhythmic. Early GE models were heavy, up to 85 pounds with motor and feeder attached. However, even with the weight, helicopters could carry it easily. Feed systems evolved quickly. Early linked belts were replaced by electrically powered delinkers, feeding ammunition smoothly from large boxes. By the 1980s, General Electric stopped producing the minigun, but the weapon's reputation ensured its survival. Dillon Aero stepped in to modernize the system. Their engineers overhauled the motor, gears, and bearings, reducing friction and weight. The M134D became the new standard as it was lighter, tougher, making it easier to maintain. Then came the M134DT, a titanium model that dropped nearly 20 pounds while extending barrel life. The M134DH followed, a hybrid with steel housing and titanium rotor for the perfect balance of cost and endurance. Later, Garwood Industries introduced the M134G, built to modern ISO standards with precision machining and modular electronics. Its parts were easier to replace, more reliable under extreme use, and compatible with digital control systems. Modern upgrades added fire rate selectors, recoil damping mounts, and even joystick operation for remote-controlled systems. The result? A Cold War weapon that didn't fade into history, it adapted to the digital battlefield. Let's slow it down. The minigun doesn't just fire, it spins up. When the trigger is pressed, the electric motor starts rotating the barrel cluster. Every 60 degrees, another barrel aligns with the firing chamber. A cam mechanism pushes the bolt forward, chambers around, fires via electric primer, and extracts the spent casing on the next turn. This constant motion means recoil never spikes. It's spread evenly. Instead of violent jolts, you get smooth torque, more like an engine than a gun. At full speed, the gun releases around 100 rounds per second, nearly 50 pounds of metal raining down every second, and yet it stays stable. The motion feels mechanical, even elegant. Cooling happens naturally. Each barrel fires once per revolution, then has time to breathe. Airflow from the spinning barrels creates its own ventilation system. Even after long bursts, the minigun rarely fails from heat. Barrels are modular and replaceable in the field, which helps sustain operations during heavy use. The feeding system is the heartbeat. Ammunition travels through linked belts into a delinker, which strips the rounds and feeds them in perfect timing. If the synchronization slips even slightly, the weapon jams. That's why maintenance crews treat alignment like religion. Timing and lubrication are sacred. The minigun isn't man-portable. It needs external power, commonly supplied by aircraft, vehicles, or naval mounts, and many installations offer selectable fire rates, often in the 2,000 to 6,000 RPM range and remote operation from stabilized turrets. But that dependency turns into advantage. Connected to stable platforms and integrated with targeting and stabilization systems, it becomes a complete weapon system, not just a gun but powered and controlled as part of a larger machine. Every revolution is a blend of physics, precision, and motion. It's not chaos. It's choreography, a mechanical symphony in steel and lead. When Vietnam ended, most weapons faded into museums. The minigun didn't. It evolved with warfare. In Iraq and Afghanistan, it returned on Humvees and helicopters, defending convoys and bases from ambushes. Mounted on MH-60 Blackhawks and MH-6 Little Birds, it offered devastating close support for special operations. In maritime combat, it protects patrol boats from fast attack craft and piracy. A single burst can tear a small vessel apart. Naval units like the U.S. Coast Guard use miniguns for anti-swarm defense in narrow waterways. Modern aircraft use pod-mounted systems like the SUU-11/A or MXU-470/A, allowing quick installation and removal. Some are remotely controlled using sensors and stabilized mounts. On vehicles, turret versions integrate with laser rangefinders and night vision sights. Special forces still rely on the minigun for psychological warfare. The sound alone, that rising metallic shriek, can stop an ambush before it begins. It announces dominance long before bullets hit. Yet the gun's strength is also its curse. At maximum rate, it can burn through 3,000 rounds in 30 seconds. That means extra fuel, weight, and constant resupply. It's not a precision tool, it's suppression incarnate. Commanders use it to shape enemy behavior, to pin, intimidate, and control. Allied nations adopted and customized it. Colombia, South Korea, Brazil, and others integrate locally built versions onto their aircraft. The form changes, but the essence remains. 6 barrels, spinning fast enough to reshape the fight. More than 6 decades later, the M134 minigun still stands as one of the most recognizable weapons on Earth. It's not just a gun, it's a symbol of power and of engineering mastery, including controlled chaos. Pop culture made it immortal. Predator, Terminator 2, Call of Duty, and even Battlefield. When those barrels spin, the audience feels it in their chest, but the reality behind the roar is even more fascinating. Technically, it changed small arms design forever. It proved that external power and multiple barrels could create continuous fire without sacrificing reliability. That principle shaped later giants like the GAU-8 Avenger in the A-10 Warthog, the GAU 19.50 caliber, and even smaller drone-mounted rotaries used for defense systems today. Tactically, it birthed modern gunship doctrine. From the AC-47 to the AC-130, the idea stayed: orbit above, stay loaded, and keep firing. Continuous suppression became a strategy, not just a weapon effect. Perhaps the most remarkable part of its story is its longevity. While many Cold War weapons became relics, the minigun evolved. Lighter materials, improved motors, smarter control systems, each generation refined it. The gun didn't have to reinvent itself, it just had to keep spinning. Even now, engineers study its balance, torque, and barrel life to design future rotary systems. It's both ancient and futuristic, a living piece of engineering history. When the barrels spin, it's not just noise, it's history repeating itself. From the jungles of Vietnam to modern cities and seas, the M134 still makes the same promise of dominance through motion. 60 years, countless upgrades, one unmistakable sound. The M134 Minigun remains the king of rotary fire. From Vietnam's green jungles to the deserts and oceans of modern war, it's never lost its edge. If you liked this breakdown, hit subscribe, share it, and drop a comment. Which version of the minigun would you trust on your 6? Thanks for watching, and remember, when the barrels start spinning, the battlefield changes forever.